Hello again. I'm Bob Ray, director. This is Chad Holt, the subject, who you'll probably recognize. You just looked at him for 90 minutes. But, we're traveling around. We're actually filming a blog. Can I bother you to film this? It doesn't zoom or anything, so all you have to do is just hold it. It kind of sucks. But, yeah, we're just traveling around, showing movies, showing this one, and Hell on Wheels, which we screened earlier tonight, which is a documentary about the students of older movies. Thanks for sticking out. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for coming to the movie. Did anybody have any questions or anything about what, why, or something?
First question wins the prize.
That's right, we have prizes. So
and best question wins the prize.
We have two more prizes we promised earlier. The first one is the copy of Rock Opera. I saw your hand right here. So without the temptation of prize, right? Am I correct?
Yeah.
All right.
My question was, how did you get the idea, or not the idea, but how did you hear about and find find Chad to film this movie or documentary about?
Well, I found him living in his apartment on West Campus about 15 years ago when we were next door neighbors. And the first time I saw him, I guess, he showed up with a big bong at my house. And so we got high. And then he was selling weed. And then there was a little while where I was selling a little bit of weed, like everyone does in their 20s.
You're telling the wrong story.
No, that's the first time we met. The first time that we knew of each other.
You're telling the wrong story.
Which story am I telling? He'll tell you.
You don't remember the first time we ever met, ever. We go through this every fucking city, okay? The first time I ever met Bob, if I'm not mistaken, is me and a friend of mine, Bobby Ashner, brought a couple of girls home, spent the night with them, woke up the next day, y'all moved in, one of the girls was your high school sweetheart.
But we didn't meet then.
We didn't, well, we definitely, that's the first time we heard about
it. Well,
me.
yeah, I mean, that's not what, yeah.
Rolling out.
Oh, yeah.
That's literally the circumstance we met out here. This is our routine to kind of soften up the audience every time. Because they always ask how did he decide to do it? And yeah, he didn't, I'm not so badass that people were just flocking to my door. This is a person I grew up with for the last
But the reason I started filming Chad, though, he's in that movie I just gave you, he got a part in it. That was shot in 1999. And it's a narrative, it's a fictional film. But I basically kind of tailored the story to my resources and to the friends and whatever had access to a story containing those elements so I could do it. So Chad's like a weed dealer in that, which is appropriate. And so he writes for magazines, all the stuff that he does, all the crazy stuff. But when I read his article on guinea pigs, it cracked me up because it seems so, I guess, fish out of water, or this strange person in this even stranger but completely square world. And I just finished Hell on Wheels, so I was like, hey, maybe we should shoot something. Of course, love the idea of tension, and I need a subject. It worked out pretty well. I don't know if you guys can tell me, I think it worked out well, but we did make a film. Yeah.
Was anything off limits filming?
I don't know, right?
No.
Did anyone say no to anything, ever?
People didn't, well,
right up at the end, a lot of the girls, there was a big separation between Bob and I. Bob, of course, directed the movie, and the movie and everything. He decided what went in and what didn't. So I just returned stuff over to him, and never had a hand in the finished product. But right at the end, some of the girls were worried about everything, right?
A lot of people were worried about.
Yeah,
people aren't that comfortable doing cocaine or with a penis in their mouth. It wasn't going that comfortable.
Yeah, when the movie when they realized, oh shit, it was coming out, all of a sudden people started coming back out of the woodwork and they'd be like, hey, I'm not really in the movie, am I? I just agreed to be filmed doing that.
For a movie.
Yeah. But yeah, the only thing was luckily for me, because like I said, it was out of my hands. She made some changes, and Jessica, my girlfriend, was in the movie, and there was nothing in there with her that was too bad, other than the drugs and the fact that she knows me. But there was no sex or anything. It's just odd because y'all are film students. I'm assuming for the most part. I'm just giving you this extra information, but from my point of view, I wouldn't necessarily include the sex stuff the way Bob did. So I had to remove myself. Even though I filmed all that personally, that's maybe not how I presented it. Besides that point, she did at the end come to him and was really worried about, hey, I've got
kindness. Okay. I mean, these are all friends. These are all people that we knew, you know, and people that. I mean, first of all, in Austin, it's easy to forget that the rest of the world, and the rest of Texas in particular, and a lot of the rest of the United States isn't that cool. Actually, most people are cool with me these days, but still, the people like Beth and Matt Nashmain, those two guys, we still on YouTube. Both of them are old friends, and they kind of don't give a shit.
But they didn't know ahead of time.
Yeah, we just showed up.
Like,
what are you doing? But no one's got me in trouble. There was a lot of footage of people when Chad was doing coke, which he doesn't anymore, and the sex stuff that we didn't have releases for. So like the woman who actually is, you know, there's a blowjob scene. You don't see her eyes. You know, we cut around that. And the only one we don't have a release for him is when he's in the courthouse and that woman is filming her ass, I guess, filming her backside. She looks around. So if anyone knows who I'm talking. I don't know. I make a lot of films. Whatever it takes, make a lot of films. I made the first feature, like I said a few minutes ago. I took inventory of the resources that I had around me, and I crafted a story with those constraints. Right now, when I was editing Hell on Wheels and when I was doing this, I made cartoons. You know, I'm compelled to tell stories, you know, through cinema, no matter what it is. After rock opera, which is a narrative, you know, narratives are a big, huge pain to set up. You have to cast everything through everything, go to locations, go to equipment. Documentaries are much easier to shoot. In the long run, they're no easier to make because you accrue a ton of footage. And the analogy that I make is if you're creating a sculpture and you start with a wire frame and you add clay to it, you know, that's kind of a narrative. You start with this idea and you form it as it's fine. With the documentary, you amass this footage, you know, which is a giant chunk of rock that you chisel away and you have to find your story. With Hell on Wheels, we had 550 hours of footage, so we could cut 20 different movies out of that. With Hell Badass, we only had 75, and we could still cut movies out of that. But if you want to make movies, you know, don't talk about it. I mean, talk about it a little bit. Still fired up, but just do it. You know, just do it and make miserable, horrible mistakes, and then make beautiful discoveries and, you know, things you really like, things you don't. With all the book reading and watching the movies and all that, that's great. But until you start doing it, you're not really going to learn. The learning curve jumps. You have to shoot a film back. Yeah.
I'm sorry to do Chad like I've seen that movie before, I've never like seen directly per se. Hey, you know,
I was getting sick of them. No, it was when he writes about all this stuff. Everything that he filmed with the flip camera, for example, he writes about very candidly, very openly, honestly, brutally honest, self-deprecating. It's not written in sort of misogynistic douchebag sort of stuff, even though a lot of it's about sex, you know, and personal things involving real people. And we knew we needed that on film. And you know, I didn't know how to film cocaine, people doing cocaine with this big camera. You know, so that was part of it. Part of it was I knew Chad would be open and honest, and that's what we had. But even when I was there with the camera, and it was a friendship. But I felt that it might add an extra layer of sort of professional, or just like any thought you have, just put it on there. Mostly when I got back the first time was blowjobs and cocaine. But there was a lot of, you know, there was a scene in there that was sad. He buried a guinea pig when the guinea pig died. It was actually a really touching scene, but it didn't make it in the movie because he had the mustache still, and it didn't fit where we needed it to fit. You know, the mustache like that. But I figured too that I was like, you know, I was really concerned with Hell on Wheels, my previous film, documentary about being objective, maintaining objectivity, and kind of sticking by the rules. This one I wanted it to be more sort of old school, like Grey Gardens or like Harlan County, USA, sort of throwback, you know, more verite, less interviews, political interviews. But then once the subject matter that we're filming is stuff that you don't see in any movies too, you know, like, well, let's do that too, even though that might be against the rules, you know, and some people would have said precaution to the wind. And that, and we needed to film some stuff that is a little more intimate. Alright, yeah.
What kind of cameras did you use?
Panasonic DVX100B, standard def, and then flip camera.
Right here.
Yeah, that was right there.
That one.
And it's been covered in film.
Oh, that's not
files,
by the way.
It's not good, yeah.
She
does with coke, but this whole tour, people were giving us pills like crazy. And the last tour, it was all weed and hash. We were just piled up with weed and hash. Yes.
He's a great guy. His name's Adam Raposa, and I haven't known him quite as long as I've known Bob. I guess I've known him about 16 or 17 years. All of us went to college together, or lived on West Campus together. I was in that. Anyway, he ended up graduating from UC Law. Adam did, and he was not your typical